our lexicon, I think. How excited then, Jack, should Tottenham fans be about all of this? Because if having Antonio Conte guiding Spurs finally into the Champions League at the end of last season wasn't enough, all this news is only going to whet the appetite for the new campaign, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we are seeing we're seeing a aggressive, ambitious Tottenham approach in the transfer market this summer, which is really, not something we've seen an awful lot from them over the years. But I do think there's an acceptance at the club that they can't let this moment of opportunity slip. Daniel Levy's been accused quite a few times in the past of getting the team into a good position and not really having the ambition, which is to say the money, to really push on and try and make the most of it. Whereas this summer it looks to be different. They've got Conte to stay. They've got this £150 million cash injection. They've finally got the kind of full revenues flowing into the new stadium, which of course they weren't able to do for 18 months because of COVID. So I do think clearly they are willing to throw their weight around. You're seeing that the fact that they're not just going for players of resale value, they're going for big experienced stars like Perisic. They go Jed Spence, an exciting player, and then to be honest, I think they're looking for more and more exciting players further up the pitch. Like Adam Kraft and James McNicholas did a story saying that Tottenham are competing with Arsenal for Rafinha. Now, Rafinha is obviously a tremendously exciting player. He's been one of the best players in the Premier League at Leeds United, but Rafinha, I don't think would necessarily be a first choice player at Tottenham, would he? Like I think he'd probably be a squad player competing with Kulusevski, maybe competing with Son, maybe playing at wing back, maybe kind of dropping in different positions. And if Tottenham are in the mix to pay big money for someone who's not even starting, then that's really kind of big club behaviour. So in that sense, it does already feel like a different window from the windows we've seen from Tottenham in the past, certainly for the last few years.
Yeah, it's the transition into a squad that doesn't have necessarily a first choice team. It's a collection of players who can play in any given week to suit the opponents, I guess. Richarlison, David, is another name that you wrote about earlier on in the week. And what are the chances of him making the move down to London? Because he seems like another player who may not be necessarily an automatic first choice player for Spurs if he was to make that move.
Yeah, that's right, Ian. Let's explain the whole chronology on this one. There were some reports that emanated from Brazil that Tottenham were in advanced negotiations to sign Richarlison for around 60 million euros. Reports which we then checked out and established that, yes, there is some interest from Tottenham, but no, they're not in negotiations with Everton yet. That may follow, of course. At this point in time, Everton are setting an extremely high asking price for Richarlison, even though he's only got 2 years to go on his contract. Although you might say that's the peak time at which you should sell. And with Calvert-Lewin, the other striker who's been linked with a move away from Everton, having 3 years on his contract, perhaps Richarlison is the one they'd prefer to sell. But Tottenham won't come to the level of finance that Everton would be looking for at this point. But there are a number of people around the game who think that with Everton's financial position, they may, as the window goes on, get squeezed into accepting a lower figure for him. And that's when Tottenham might feel that they can pounce. And when you speak to certain sources around Everton, they think this move will end up happening by the end of the transfer window. So you've got Jack mentioning there the credible interest in Rafinha, but there is also interest in Richarlison. And that backs up the point we mentioned in the piece that Tottenham do have a number of options for this position. They're weighing them up. They're seeing which is best value for money, seeing which is most doable. They're clearly not looking for this central striker, but somebody that can play off wide. They were linked to with Gabriel Jesus from Manchester City, but I don't think that's one they're going to be pursuing, with some others, in particular Arsenal and Chelsea, seemingly the most keen on him at this point. There's been reports of Real Madrid as well. I don't know about the credibility of those or how realistic they are to come to fruition. And so, yeah, Tottenham and Richarlison is certainly one to watch in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, if you want to know more about any of these stories, of course, go to